I built that memorial bench with my own hands 5 years ago. It rested quietly along the shoreline where my wife and I had spent countless evenings watching the sun disappear beyond the lake. After she passed away, that bench became the one place where I still felt connected to her. Every Sunday morning, I would bring a cup of coffee and a small bouquet of flowers and sit there for a while. The neighborhood HOA never cared much for the bench. Karen, the HOA president, insisted that it disrupted the visual appearance of the lakefront area. I ignored her complaints because the shoreline property legally belonged to me. Every document proving ownership was safely stored at my house. One afternoon, while I was sitting on the bench, Karen walked up with her usual attitude. She informed me that I had 7 days to remove it or face HOA fines. I calmly explained that the shoreline was private property and completely outside the HOA's authority. Karen rolled her eyes, muttered something under her breath, and stormed away looking furious. The following week, I drove down the lake carrying fresh flowers, as I always did. The moment I arrived, my heart sank. The bench was gone. Broken pieces of wood were scattered across the grass near the shoreline. The memorial plaque had been smashed into fragments. My wife's name had been scratched and damaged beyond recognition. I stood there frozen, staring at the destruction while gentle waves lapped against the shore behind me. A nearby fisherman eventually walked over and handed me his phone. Earlier that morning, he had recorded everything. As I watched the video, my anger grew. Karen stood nearby with her arms crossed while contractors loaded the bench into a truck. In the recording, she loudly claimed that the HOA controlled the lakefront area and ordered the junk removed immediately. I thanked the fisherman for helping me and drove home without saying another word. Karen had absolutely no idea how serious a mistake really was. That evening, I pulled out my property records and spread them across my kitchen table. The ownership documents were completely clear. Not only did I own the exact location where the bench had stood, but I also legally owned almost the entire shoreline surrounding the neighborhood lake. Years earlier, the original developer had quietly sold me the waterfront rights after abandoning plans for a marina project that never gained support. Apparently, the HOA had never bothered checking county property maps before threatening me. Karen had simply assumed she was in charge of everything. The next morning, I met with my attorney and showed him both the video footage and the property records. After reviewing everything, he smiled and informed me that Karen had created enormous legal problems for the HOA. By Friday afternoon, the HOA was served with a lawsuit for property destruction, trespassing, and the unauthorized removal of private property. Karen tried to appear confident during the emergency HOA meeting, but residents became increasingly nervous after reading the legal documents. Then came the second shock. My attorney sent formal notices restricting access across my privately owned shoreline property. Almost overnight, every HOA picnic area, fishing dock, and lakeside walking path became inaccessible without my permission. Residents suddenly realized that the HOA had spent years approving and promoting expensive lakefront amenities on land they never actually owned. The next morning, Karen appeared at my front door, demanding that I immediately reopen access to the shoreline paths. I stepped outside, holding the broken memorial plaque from my wife's bench. Without saying a word, I held it up for her to see. For the first time since she had moved into the neighborhood, Karen's face turned completely pale. She stared at the damaged plaque and had absolutely nothing to say. 2 weeks later, the HOA agreed to settle the lawsuit privately. They paid for an entirely new memorial area, funded the construction of a replacement bench, and removed Karen from her position as HOA president. Now, every Sunday morning, I sit beside the rebuilt bench overlooking the lake once again. I bring my coffee, place fresh flowers beside the memorial, and watch the water in peaceful silence. And as the sun begins to set across the shoreline, I know that my wife's memory finally received the respect it deserved.